You know why I really love Nick Hood as a minister? I watched his father do it, and he took over for the church, and he was one of us, but he really turned out to be a great minister. I know it's hard, and that's something that I know that all ministers may not be doing what they're doing because for the right reasons, but I know it's hard. I know he's a beautiful man, and we've been knowing each other for over 50 years. I believe in him. He's inspired me in so many ways to do what I'm doing and try to be the best at it. Make sure you watch Nick Hood's ministries. You'll never be the same.
God is trying to show you something every step of the way. When things seem to be going wrong, that's God's way of opening another door. I am convinced that God has been directing me every step of my life.
On the Word Network.
America used to be considered a godly country. It doesn't seem to be that way to me now. And I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything, but it's so many things they're okaying for the wrong reasons. There's not godly reason. People need to really open up the Bible, the Bible, and look in it, and really get it into their heart. And this, the way Reverend Hood is doing this is a comfortable way. It's not forcing anything on people. It's a comfortable way and a loving way for it to continue to move in that direction.
The way Reverend Hood presents it, you can understand it, and it makes you want to delve into the Bible even more so that you can see more, because it seems like the program goes off too fast. We need the bread of life.
We really do.
These days we need it more than ever, and Reverend Hood's ministry on TV is giving us our bread.
Today I want to talk about the giant, the grasshopper, and the power of God. In the book of Numbers, when Moses and the people of Israel crossed the Red Sea, they have safely gotten out of Egypt, out of Egyptian bondage, slavery, without a fight. They crossed the Red Sea with the help of God. And then once they get to the other side, they're in the wilderness. And they can't see how they are going to survive. And so Moses sends spies out to the land they believe is the promised land. He sends out one spy from every tribe. And so there are 12 tribes of Israel, there are 12 spies. And of these 12 spies, 10 came back, that's called the majority report. They came back with a negative assessment. They came back and they said, the people of the land look like giants, and we look like grasshoppers. They said, we look like the grasshoppers to ourselves, and we look like grasshoppers to them. They said, it's true that the land is full of milk and honey, and that the clusters of grapes are so big that they have to be carried by 2 men. He said, but there's no way we can beat those people because they are like giants. They are like giants, and we are like little bitty grasshoppers. And they got up in front of all the people, and they began to tell all of the Israelites, this is not the country to try to invade. This is not the time. We are not big enough to beat these people. But Joshua and Caleb were the other 2 spies. And when they came back, they had what's called the minority report. And in their minority report, they said simply, yes, the people of the land look like giants. Yes, they're taller than we are. Yes, they're more powerful than we are. And yes, we do seem like grasshoppers in their sight. But we can take them. We can overcome them. And when they got through making their remarks, really it was Caleb who made the speech in the book of Numbers. When Caleb makes that speech, what doesn't get a lot of credit is that the Jewish people went into an uproar. They went into an uproar because they had already heard 10 other people in that majority report say there's no way we can win this fight. And the people were in such an uproar, they discounted what Caleb and Joshua said. But two, they said, it would have been better for us had we stayed in Egypt and died there. So when they said that, what they were really saying is they were questioning the leadership of Moses. And not only did they question the leadership of Moses, they said, it's time for us to look for another leader. And it's a miracle that Moses and Aaron were able to quiet the people down. But it's amazing. For 40 years after that report, the Grasshopper report, for 40 years, the Jewish people wandered in the wilderness. And they wandered so long that by the time Joshua became the next leader of the Israelites, who took them over the river Jordan, by the time Joshua did that, none of the other people who had come out of Egypt were still alive. And there's a lesson in this. And there are a lot of lessons. But to me, one of the lessons is the power of a report, the power of an assessment, and that two people can look at the same thing and they see very different results. I like the poem that says, two men look through bars. One sees mud, the other sees stars. It's all a matter of perspective. But when all you see is mud, sometimes you can mess up a church, you can mess up a neighborhood, you can mess up a country if the leader has a negative attitude. You can literally drag the country into the ground, into the dirt. And if you do that, sometimes it may take a generation, maybe 2 generations. In the case of Moses and the people of Israel, 40 years, I think, is 2 generations. A generation, isn't that considered about 20 years? But it took them a long time to get back on track because of this Grasshopper report. And I don't know if there's ever been a time in your life when you got turned around because somebody thought you were a grasshopper, because somebody thought you weren't smart enough, you weren't strong enough, you didn't have enough money, you weren't rich enough, you weren't this, you weren't intellectual enough, you weren't erudite enough. And once a person puts a bad word out on you, you find that it's sometimes very, very difficult to get back on track. And I'm fascinated that Joshua and Caleb saw possibility when the others, more than them, saw negativity. They saw impossibility. When Joshua and Caleb saw something that looked so inviting to them. And that, to me, is part of what I call the vision of leadership. The vision of leadership is a vision that can see possibility out of nothingness. The vision of leadership sees where you're going, even though you're still poor. The vision of leadership sees where you're going, even when you don't have any money, when you don't have any power, when you don't have any authority. But somebody looks at you and says, I see possibility in that person. I see it in love all the time. I'm fascinated with the stories of love, how men and women connect with each other. And one of the things I've learned is that very often, particularly when people are young people often will see something in another person that they can't really fully imagine. They can't fully, because they can't see it. If you're in your teens or if you're in your early 20s, a person, none of us are fully developed at that time. We may be physically developed, but emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, very often we have many miles to go. But in love, sometimes we look at a person and we see something there. We see possibility. We see hope. We see ingenuity. And we see something that looks like it might work. We see a grasshopper. We see a grasshopper. But that grasshopper grows to be a giant. And you know, the amazing thing in the story of Moses and the people of Israel is because of that majority report that saw the people, saw themselves as grasshoppers. The giants of the land won out for 40 years because they didn't even have to fight a battle. They didn't have to fight a battle because the biggest battle was the battle of the mind of the spies who said, we only look like a grasshopper. And I don't know if there's anybody here looking at this program today, when you look back on your life, ask yourself, have I ever missed out on a blessing because I thought I was a grasshopper? Have I ever missed out on an opportunity, an investment, a job opportunity? Have I ever missed out on something good in life because I didn't think I measured up? Think about the times in your life when you didn't talk to a woman or you didn't talk to a man because you didn't think you were anything more than a grasshopper. Wondering to yourself, what could they possibly see in me? I'm not the most handsome person in the world. I'm certainly not the richest in the world. I don't have the most and the best and the sharpest clothes. I don't have the greatest education. I don't come, with the best parents. When you look at my record, like Eric Baidu would say, my past is not squeaky clean. Maybe I've been to prison. Maybe I've done time, hard time. And because of that, I feel like I don't measure up. And if I feel like I don't measure up, I feel like I'm nothing more than a grasshopper. And we don't realize that all of us start as grasshoppers. No matter who you are, no matter how smart you are, no matter how wonderful you are, most of us that I know have a lot of growth and development that has to take place before we come into our own. And so one of the lessons that I learned from this story is that it's important to look at life with a spiritual eye. I believe that Joshua and Caleb had a spiritual eye. And a spiritual eye does not see as men and women see. As men and women, we look for the obvious. We look for two eyes, a nose, and a mouth. We look for hands that work. We look for hair on the head, no matter how gray or black or brown it might be. But the spiritual eye sees beyond the skin. A spiritual eye sees beyond the external appearance of the hair. The spiritual eye does not see weakness for weakness, but the spiritual eye sees weakness as the beginning of possibility, understanding that all of us need time and experience to grow. And that's what Joshua and Caleb saw. But evidently, they could not communicate that with the rest of the people. And there's a lesson in that no matter how good your spiritual eye is, no matter how perceptive your spiritual eye may be, if you cannot communicate it with other people, you're left waiting. You're left like a grasshopper in the weeds because you couldn't figure out how to communicate to other people. And so one of the prayers that you and I really should pray to God all the time is not just God give me the insight, not just God give me understanding, but God put the right words in my mouth so that my tongue doesn't cleave to the roof of my mouth. Give me the right words, Lord, so that I can pierce the heart of the evil, so that I can pierce the heart of the fearful, so that I can pierce the heart of those who can't see down the road. Some people can't see past $1. Let me say that again. Some people can't make an investment monetarily. They can't make an investment academically or educationally. They can't make it and don't want to make an investment professionally because they just can't see beyond the weeds. And if you can't see beyond the weeds, all you see is grasshoppers and giants. You're looking down the road and everybody else looks smarter than you. Everybody else looks more accomplished than you. Everybody else looks like, as Bill Withers would say, they know the way. But frankly, one of the things I've learned in life is that a lot of people do not know the way. A lot of people don't know if they're going or coming. And if you get mesmerized by the external appearance of somebody, you are nothing more than a spiritual grasshopper. And so I want you to think about that and ask yourself, when am I a spiritual grasshopper? And when have I transformed from being a grasshopper into a giant? And I say that the way we do that is with the power of God. I'll be back in 1 minute after we have this little break. And I want to talk to you a little bit more about that giant, the grasshopper, and how we incorporate the power of God. I'll be right back.
There are people all across this globe who now will have the opportunity to know you like I do, because of course you are very forthcoming in telling stories about life, stories that are relatable, and that means something. How wonderful it is, and I just look forward to seeing how this platform, this new platform, will just rise and grow and really be a vessel through which you can be a blessing to folk all over this world, and Lord knows we need it.
God is trying to show you something every step of the way. When things seem to be going wrong, that's God's way of opening another door. I am convinced that God has been directing me every step of my life.
On the Word Network.
Today, I'm talking about the giant, the grasshopper, and the power of God. And I believe that there's somebody looking at this program right now who feels like you're nothing but a grasshopper. You feel like a grasshopper because you don't have enough money to pay your bills. Somebody looking at this right now feels like a grasshopper because every day, every week, you're getting health care notices and bills. Your Medicaid, your Medicare is not enough to pay for the help that you need. You have cancer, but your health insurance won't pay for it. You have a bad hip, a bad knee, but your doctor is concerned that the insurance will cover it. And so you feel like you're a grasshopper. If you work in a job where you feel silenced, you feel like you can't speak your mind, and you're afraid to speak your mind, because you're afraid that if you speak your mind, somebody is going to, tell on you, and you're going to be fired for your freedom of speech. You can feel like a grasshopper. A few weeks ago, I think about the late night comedian Jimmy Kimmel. I don't really look at him, but I've been following him since his controversy when ABC network removed him because he told a joke they didn't like about the president. And to the surprise of a lot of people, Jimmy Kimmel looked like a grasshopper. He looked like he didn't have that much support. How does a comedian stack up against the powers that be? But to the surprise of ABC, which is a huge media conglomerate, to their utmost surprise, the man who looked like a grasshopper, who they treated like a grasshopper, who they fired like a grasshopper, created so much backlash that when they finally, they looked at the number of people canceling subscriptions, the number of people writing them, complaining to them about silencing a comedian, to their surprise, that when they brought him back on the air about a week later, that he had the largest audience they've ever had on late night TV. 6 million people watched him. What's the point that I'm making? The point that I'm making, my friends, is sometimes you and I don't know how strong we really are. You are stronger than you may think it. You are stronger than you may know it. And you may not feel strong because somebody told you you're nothing but a grasshopper. Somebody told you you're not smart enough. Somebody told you you haven't achieved enough. Somebody told you you weren't educated enough. But what we don't realize is it's not until we step out in faith that the power of God begins to kick in. And so somebody may be asking, well, Reverend, I don't feel like a giant. I feel like a grasshopper. How can I grasp this power of God in my life? And let me share with you where I think it begins. Number one, it helps if you have parents or some parent type figure who would just take you to church. And even if they don't take you to church, if you're in the presence of a God-fearing person who's praying at home, praying at dinner time, praying when you go to bed at night, that God-fearing person will help to plant a seed in a child that God is worth following. God is worth trying. God is worth believing in. That's where it starts. Number two, if you want to advance from a grasshopper mentality, at some point you have to try God. You may not fully understand God, but once you begin to pray to God for yourself, and then once you try to live the teachings of God, to try to really embody what does it mean to forgive somebody else? What does it mean to love my neighbor as I love myself? What does it mean to be gracious, kind, and good to somebody who's been the exact opposite to me? How can I maintain my integrity, fighting for those things that I believe are true, just, and right, and good, but at the same time to exude mercy and justice? How do I balance mercy and justice at the same time? And when you begin to struggle intellectually, when you begin to struggle emotionally and spiritually in this way, that is when you begin to draw on the power of God. And you don't really experience the power of God until after you've studied it all, you've prayed as hard as you can pray, you've done all that you can do, and then when you just step back and you say, I can't fight this battle by myself. I cannot climb this mountain by myself. I can't swim this river by myself. And Lord, I'm putting my problem in your lap. Somebody here today needs to put their problem in the lap of the Lord. Somebody looking at this program right now is at your wit's end. You're trying to figure out, do I come or go with my marriage? You're trying to figure out, how in the world can I make more money for myself and for my family? You're trying to figure out what is really the next path for me? And am I in a dead-end position in life? And when you get to the point where you've tried it all, when you've done your best, and then you just stop and say, Jesus, I put my problem in your lap. Help me to cross over the finish line. I've pushed as hard as I can go. I've run as fast as I could run. I've thought as best as I could think, and I cannot take this battle by myself. And when you get to that point, that is when the Lord opens doors you cannot see. I can't tell you what God has done for me, but God has done so much in my life. God has opened so many doors. God has broken down so many barriers. God has put up barriers when the evil one tried to assail me, when evil ones tried to bring me down, when evil ones tried to take away this ministry. And somehow I just put it in the hand of the Lord, and God is taking me to a whole nother level. God is taking this ministry to a whole nother level. And I believe that just as God is taking this ministry to another level, God will take you to the highest levels that you can imagine. But some of us can't go to that next run because we are stuck on being a grasshopper. We're stuck on feeling like we're nothing but a shrimp. We're stuck on feeling like we're nothing but a little grasshopper who's hopping around, with 2 big legs and 2 little legs. And at some point, we got to free the mind and free the heart and free the soul so that God can give you the strength to run the race that God has already set for you. And when you do that, my friends, that's when the power of God kicks in. I'm praying for you right now that the power of God will bless you, that the strength of God will strengthen you, that the hope of God will give you new hope, and that the energy of God will give you new energy, and most of all, that the peace and the love of God will give you new peace, new love, new joy on a level that you cannot even envision. Break away from that grasshopper mentality and reap this prize that God has for you. God bless you. God keep you. And remember, I'm praying for you.
Just knowing you took the time to watch today's broadcast is a great encouragement to Pastor Nick Hood. If this broadcast has been a blessing to you, we ask that you mail a tax-free donation to Nicholas Hood Ministries at 4535 Chrysler Drive, Detroit, Michigan, 48201.
You know why I really love Nick Hood as a minister? I watched his father do it, and he took over for the church, and he was one of us, but he really turned out to be a great minister. I know it's hard, and that's something that I know that all ministers may not be doing what they're doing because for the right reasons. But I know it's hard. I know he's a beautiful man, and we've been knowing each other for over 50 years. I believe in him. He's inspired me in so many ways to do what I'm doing and try to be the best at it. Make sure you watch Nick Hood's Ministries. You'll never be the same.
God is trying to show you something.